What if the one thing your cat has been quietly begging for is something you've never once thought to give? Not toys, not treats, not even affection the way you understand it. Something deeper. Something they've been trying to show you every single day, in silence. Because here's the part that stings a little. Most people truly believe they love their cats. They buy the soft beds, the fancy food, the colorful toys that jingle and bounce across the floor. And from the outside it looks like love. Feels like enough. But your cat experiences the world in a completely different language. And if you don't speak it, even the best intentions can feel like distance. Like confusion. Like being misunderstood in your own home. And that's where everything begins. It starts with something so small, so innocent you would never think it matters. You call their name. Come here. Fluffy. Hey, come on. At first they look at you. Maybe they even come. But over time something shifts. You start to notice it. That hesitation. That pause before they respond. And then one day, they don't come at all. You call again. Nothing. You assume they're ignoring you. Being stubborn. Acting like cats do. But what if they're not ignoring you? What if they've learned something that you never meant to teach them? Think about the moments you use their name the most. When it's time to go to the vet. When you need to trim their nails. When the carrier comes out and they know something uncomfortable is about to happen. Their name stops being a warm invitation and slowly becomes a warning. A signal. A quiet alarm that something bad is about to follow. So their world simplifies it in the only way they know how. Name equals danger. And once that connection is made, they don't forget. They don't come when you call, not because they don't care about you, but because they've learned to protect themselves from what comes next. But here's where something beautiful can happen. Because this isn't permanent. This is something you can gently undo. Imagine calling their name, not because you need something but just because you want to give something. A treat. A soft moment. A little burst of play. And then, nothing else. No demand. No pressure. Just something good. Do that again. And again. And again. And slowly, almost invisibly, something rewires inside them. That tension softens. That hesitation fades. Until one day you say their name, and they come running. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because now your voice doesn't carry fear anymore. It carries possibility. And just when you think you're starting to understand them, there's something else happening right in front of you that you've been missing this whole time. Play. It looks harmless, doesn't it? You grab a toy, dangle it in the air, watch their eyes lock onto it. Their body lowers, muscles tightening, tail flicking with anticipation. It's instinct. Pure, focused, alive. They chase. They leap. They almost catch it. And then you pull it away. Again. And again. And again. To you it's fun. It's engagement. It's keeping them active. But to them, it's something else entirely. It's a hunt that never ends. A story with no resolution. Imagine trying your hardest, putting everything you have into reaching something, and every single time, right at the last second, it's taken away. Not once. Not twice. Every time. At first, it creates excitement. But eventually, it creates frustration. Confusion. Even doubt. Because their instincts are built on a simple cycle. Hunt. Get. Rest. When that cycle is broken over and over again, something inside them stays unfinished. Like a sentence that never gets to its final word. And that unfinished feeling doesn't just disappear. It builds. You might see it later in ways that don't seem connected. The sudden bursts of energy at night. The biting during play. The restlessness that doesn't make sense. But it does make sense. Because they were never allowed to win. And winning for a cat isn't about dominance or control. It's about completion. Closure. So what happens when you finally let them catch it? Really catch it. When they grab it between their paws, kick it with their back legs, hold it like it matters. Something shifts. Their body relaxes. Their mind settles. You've completed the story their instincts were trying to tell. And when you follow that moment with a small reward, even something simple, you're not just feeding them. You're speaking their language in the most natural way possible. You're telling them, you did it, you're enough. And that feeling stays with them. It changes how they move, how they rest, how they see you. Because now you're not just the person who plays with them. You're the one who understands them. And just when you think that's where it ends, there's something even quieter, something almost invisible, shaping their world every single day. The places they choose to sleep. It seems simple, doesn't it? A bed is a bed. Soft is soft. Comfort is comfort. But to your cat, it's so much more than that. Every spot they choose carries a meaning, a feeling, a need they're trying to meet without ever saying a word. A warm patch of sunlight isn't just cozy, it's confidence. A hidden corner tucked away where no one can see them. That's safety when they feel vulnerable. A high perch above everything else. That's control. Awareness. Power over their environment. And when they curl up near you, that's trust. Not given lightly. Not given without reason. But when there's only one place for them to go, one bed, one option, one fixed space, something subtle gets taken away from them. Choice. And with it, emotional freedom. Because imagine being told you can only feel one way all day long. No matter what changes, no matter what happens inside you, you only get one option. That's the quiet limitation most cats live with. Not because their owners don't care, but because they don't realize. And the moment you give them more, everything changes. A soft cave where they can disappear when the world feels too loud. A window perch where they can watch life unfold outside, their eyes tracking every tiny movement. A place near you where they can rest without fully letting their guard down. Now they move. Not randomly, but intentionally. From one space to another. From one feeling to another. And if you pay close enough attention, you'll start to see it. You'll start to understand them, without a single sound being made. And that's when the real connection begins. Not in the big gestures. Not in the obvious moments. But in the quiet choices they've been making all along. And just when you start noticing those quiet choices, something else begins to reveal itself. Something you can't see. But your cat feels every single time you walk out the door. At first it looks like nothing. You grab your keys, maybe your phone, maybe your bag. You step outside, lock the door, and your day begins. But behind you, their world changes. Because to your cat, you're not just someone who lives in the house. You are the center of it. And when you leave, it's not just your presence that disappears. It's your scent. The invisible thread that tells them, you're safe. Everything is okay. You're not alone. Cats don't rely on words the way we do. They rely on what lingers, what stays behind, what feels familiar even when nothing else does. And your scent is everything. It's their anchor. Their proof that you exist beyond the moment. So when you're gone for hours, that scent slowly fades from the spaces they love most. The couch, the bed, the quiet corners where they used to curl up next to you. And without even realizing it, they start searching. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in small, almost invisible ways. They wander from room to room. They pause where you usually sit. They settle somewhere, then get up again. As if something isn't quite right. As if something is missing, but they can't explain what. And that's where something incredibly simple becomes incredibly powerful. A shirt. Not a clean one. Not something fresh from the laundry. Something you've worn. Something that carries you. Your scent, your warmth, your presence, still woven into the fabric. When you place it in their favorite spot, something shifts almost immediately. They don't question it. They don't hesitate. They recognize it. They move toward it the same way they would move toward you. And when they curl up on it, it's not just comfort. It's relief. Their breathing slows. Their body softens. That quiet, restless searching disappears. Because in their world you didn't really leave. A part of you stayed behind. And sometimes that's all they need. But even when you are there, right next to them, there's another place where misunderstanding quietly builds. Touch. It seems like the most natural thing in the world. You see your cat, you reach out, you pet them. That's love, right? But have you ever noticed how sometimes they lean in, and other times they pull away? How one moment they seem to melt under your hand, and the next they flick their tail or gently push you off. It's not random. It's not moodiness. It's communication. Because cats don't experience touch the way we give it. We use full hands, broad strokes, fast movements. To us, it feels affectionate, warm, expressive. But to them, it can feel overwhelming. Too much, too fast, too intense. Because in their world, touch is precise, controlled, intentional. They groom each other in small areas. Gentle motions. Soft, repeated movements that feel predictable and safe. Not sudden. Not forceful. So when a giant hand comes down, moving quickly across their body, it doesn't always translate as love. Sometimes, it feels like too much. And that's where the smallest change can create the biggest difference. Instead of your whole hand, just 2 fingers. Slow. Gentle. Starting in the places they naturally trust. The base of their ears, the curve of their cheeks. Tiny circles. No rush. No pressure. And then, something incredible happens. They lean in. Not away, but toward you. As if they've been waiting for this exact kind of touch their whole life. You'll see it in their eyes. The slow blink. The softening. The way their body begins to melt instead of brace. Because now it doesn't feel like something is happening to them. It feels like something is happening with them. And that's the difference. That's the moment where touch stops being a guess and becomes a conversation. And conversations like that don't just happen during the day. They begin the moment your cat opens their eyes. Morning. To you, it's just another part of your routine. Wake up. Check your phone. Get out of bed. Maybe rush through the start of your day without thinking twice. But to your cat, those first few minutes mean everything. Because they've been waiting. Not impatiently. Not loudly. But quietly, aware that something important is about to happen. The first interaction of the day. And whether you notice it or not, it sets the tone for everything that follows. When you greet them, even in the smallest way, a soft voice, a gentle glance, a quick touch, it tells them something powerful. Nothing has changed. You're still safe. I'm still here. But when that moment is skipped, when you move past them without acknowledgement, lost in your own world, they feel it. Not as rejection, but as uncertainty. And for a creature that builds their entire sense of security on patterns, on predictability, that uncertainty lingers. It carries into the rest of their day. So something as small as a 5-second ritual becomes something sacred. A quiet promise you make to them every morning. And over time they come to rely on it, to trust it, to feel grounded in it, because it's not about how big the gesture is. It's about what it means. And just when you think you've started to understand the depth of their emotional world, there's something even deeper, something older, something that reaches back to the very beginning of their life. A memory they don't even realize they still carry. It sounds strange at first, maybe even a little ridiculous, but sometimes the most powerful things do. A soft toothbrush, slightly damp, gently brushing along their forehead, behind their ears, across their cheeks. At first they might pause, unsure, curious, and then something shifts. Their eyes begin to close. Their body leans into the motion. And suddenly, they're not just in your home anymore. They're somewhere else. Somewhere safe. Somewhere warm. Because that sensation, that exact feeling, is something they experienced long before they ever knew you. When they were small. When the world was simple. When their mother's grooming was the only thing they needed to feel protected. And in that moment, you're not just touching them. You're taking them back. Back to the safest memory they've ever known. A place where nothing could hurt them. Where everything made sense. And they don't think about it the way we would. They just feel it. Deeply. Completely. And when they open their eyes again, something has changed. Not dramatically. Not obviously. But quietly, in the way they look at you. As if a new layer of trust has formed. As if you've become something more than just the person they live with. Something closer. Something familiar in a way they can't explain. And right in the middle of all of this, there's a conversation happening. A silent one. One you've probably seen 1,000 times, without realizing what it meant. They look at you. From across the room. Still. Calm. Watching. And then, slowly, they blink. Not quickly. Not sharply. But gently. Like they're letting their guard down, just for a moment. And if you don't respond, if you look away or miss it completely, that moment fades. Unanswered. But if you catch it, if you slow down, and blink back the same way, you've just said something to them. Something powerful. Something they understand better than anything else in the world. I trust you too. And from that moment on, they start to see you differently. Not just as someone who feeds them. Not just as someone who shares their space. But as someone who finally speaks their language. And once you begin to understand that silent language, you start noticing things that were always there, hiding in plain sight. Like the moments your cat walks into the litter box. Something so ordinary. So routine. You barely think about it. But to them, it's one of the most vulnerable experiences of their entire day. In the wild, this is the moment they're exposed. The moment they can't run. The moment predators strike. That instinct never left them. So when they step into that space, they're not just relieving themselves, they're trusting their environment not to betray them. And then we step in. We hover. We watch. We talk to them like it's nothing. Sometimes we even clean the box the second they're done, thinking we're being responsible, attentive, caring. But in their world, it feels different. It feels like being watched at your most defenseless moment. Like there's no place you can truly let your guard down. And that quiet discomfort builds. It turns into hesitation, into anxiety, into behaviors that seem confusing, frustrating, even upsetting. But underneath it all is just a simple need. Privacy. Space. The feeling that, for a moment, they can exist without being observed. And when you give them that, when you step back, when you make that space feel safe and undisturbed, something relaxes inside them. Not just in that moment, but in the way they move through your home afterward. Because safety for a cat isn't about big gestures. It's about the absence of threat in the moments that matter most. And right after that comes something else we often misunderstand. Food. It seems so simple. You fill the bowl. They eat. End of story. Except, it's not the end of anything. Because your cat doesn't see food the way you present it. To you it's convenience, routine, a fixed schedule that fits your day. But to them, it feels unnatural. Because deep inside, their instincts are still wired for something completely different. Small hunts, scattered throughout the day. Moments of searching, finding, capturing. Not one big meal dropped into a bowl with no effort, no story, no sense of completion. So when they walk up to a full bowl, take a few bites, then walk away only to come back again and again. They're not being picky. They're trying to make sense of something that doesn't match what their body expects. They're trying to turn a static moment into a dynamic experience. And when you start to break that routine, when you offer smaller portions spread out, when you make them work just a little, search just a little, everything changes. The restlessness fades. The obsession softens. Because now eating feels like it's supposed to feel. Not just consumption, but fulfillment. And just when their body starts to feel aligned, their mind is asking for something else. Something just as essential. Something you might be taking away without even realizing it. The outside world. A window. A view. A glimpse of movement beyond the walls they live in. Because for your cat, watching isn't passive. It's everything. The flick of a bird's wing. The sudden dash of a squirrel. Even the way leaves move in the wind. These aren't small things. They're stimulation. Engagement. Life. Without it, their world becomes quiet in a way that's not peaceful, but empty. And that emptiness doesn't stay quiet. It turns into boredom, into frustration, into energy with nowhere to go. So when they knock things over, when they act out, when they seem restless for no reason, there is a reason. They've been cut off from the one thing that keeps their mind alive. And the moment you give it back, even just a single window, a single perch, a single clear view, you'll see it. Hours of quiet focus. Their eyes tracking invisible paths. Their body still, but fully engaged. Because now they're not just existing in your home. They're connected to something beyond it. And as the day fades into night, something else begins to rise inside them. Energy. A sudden burst. A wild sprint across the room. A leap onto your bed at the worst possible time. And you wonder, why now? Why always at night? Why when you're trying to rest? But the answer isn't chaos. It's timing. Because your cat isn't wired for your schedule. They're wired for something older. Dawn. Dusk. The moments when the world is dim, quiet, alive with movement. That's when their instincts wake up. That's when they're meant to hunt. And if that energy isn't released when it's supposed to be, it doesn't disappear. It waits. Until 3 a.m. Until your face becomes the closest moving target. And suddenly it all makes sense. Because when you shift that moment, when you give them that intense play right before you sleep, when you let them chase, catch, complete the cycle their body understands, something incredible happens. They rest. Not because they're tired, but because they're fulfilled. And fulfillment brings peace. And in that peaceful space, something even deeper begins to form. Trust. It shows up in the smallest places. Like their paws. So delicate. So sensitive. So protected. In the wild, those paws are survival itself. The ability to run. To climb. To escape. So when they let you touch them, even for a second, it's not random. It's not casual. It's trust at its highest level. But that trust is fragile. One sudden grab. One moment too fast, too forceful. And it disappears. Replaced by caution. Distance. Time needed to rebuild what was lost. But when you approach slowly, when you let them guide the moment, when your touch feels like a question instead of a demand, they answer. Softly. By staying. By allowing it. By leaning into something they don't offer to just anyone. And that's when you realize, this relationship was never about control. It was always about permission. And that permission extends into something even more invisible. Something you can't see, but they feel every second of every day. Sound. Your home might feel quiet to you. Normal. Comfortable. Familiar. But your cat hears more than you ever could. Frequencies you don't notice. High-pitched hums from devices. Subtle vibrations from machines that never truly turn off. To you it's silence. To them, it can feel like constant noise. A background tension they can't escape. And when they seem jumpy, when they hide for no clear reason, when they avoid certain areas, is not random. It's overwhelming. So when you give them a quiet space, a place where that invisible noise softens, where they can finally rest without tension, you're giving them something they didn't even know they were missing. Peace. And that peace flows into something else, something just as quiet but just as important. Water. Because while you see a bowl, they see something instinctively wrong. Water next to food. So, unmoving, silent. In the wild, that combination can mean danger, contamination. So they hesitate. They drink less than they should. And over time, that quiet hesitation becomes something serious. Something that affects their health in ways you don't see until it's too late. But when you change it, when you separate water from food, when you make it flow, move, feel alive, they respond. Not dramatically, but consistently. More sips, more visits, more balance in their body. Because now it feels safe. And as all these small changes begin to come together, something bigger starts to form. A sense of belonging. Through scent. Through shared space. Because your home isn't just your home. It's theirs too. And they need to feel it. Not just see it, but smell it. Their scent mixed with yours, layered into the corners, the furniture, the spaces they return to again and again. But when everything is constantly cleaned, erased, replaced with unfamiliar smells, that sense of ownership fades. And they start to question something they should never have to question. Do I belong here? So when you allow a little of their scent to remain, when you let your home carry both of you at once, you're not making things dirty. You're making things meaningful. You're telling them, this is your place too. And once they feel that, truly feel it, everything changes. They relax deeper. They move with more confidence. They stop searching, because they've found it. Home. And in the end, after everything, all the signals, all the quiet messages, all the moments you almost missed, comes down to something incredibly simple. Your cat doesn't just want your attention. They want your permission. To belong. To exist beside you, not just around you. To be seen, not just looked at. So the next time they walk up to you, and gently rub against your legs, don't rush past it. Don't treat it like something small. Because to them, it isn't. It's a question. A quiet, ancient question that echoes through everything they are. Can I be yours? And when you stop, when you lower yourself into that moment, when you let them complete that connection in their own way, you're answering. Not with words, but with presence, with understanding, with love, in a language they've been speaking all along. And maybe, just maybe, for the first time, you're finally hearing it.